Sabu has recently announced his potential retirement. It wasn't very convincing, though, for me.
In what way not convincing?
Well, in the same way that any wrestling retirement isn't ever really convincing. But
like a Leo Rush or...
yeah. I mean, obviously, Sabu is of an age. I think he's probably at that point. That's not to say he's old, but when you look at the style that he's competed in for so many years, I'm surprised that he was still able to go even now. Same as a lot of them, really.
Yeah. How many from that ECW original list still are wrestling, would you say?
It's difficult. I don't think a lot of them are wrestling full time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you always... Because I know it's not... I know it's not... He wasn't ECW, but with Dustin Rhodes, who's been around a lot longer.
Yeah.
I know he's not as hardcore as like Sabu. He never used to do like the barbed wire stuff, but
I think though for someone like Dustin, he's had quite a large period of his career where it wasn't focused on the bump so much as it was the character.
Yeah,
and I think that really helps the longevity, doesn't it? As it does with a lot of them. But I mean, Tommy Dreamer, excluding post Dark Side of the Ring comments and releases from off the back of that. Obviously, Dreamer's still going. I think Just Incredible still does indie shows.
Probably. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure like Two Core Scorpio probably still does rest. I don't know what it's like in America with the indie scene. I know obviously like GCW will do shows, and
there's still some show up here and there. I think from Sabu, a lot of them are there for like meet and greets and signings and things.
Oh, definitely.
And from what Sabu has said in his comments, it sounds like that's the route he's going to sort of go down. So he's still going to be available for fans to meet and obviously get autographs, photos and everything else. But in terms of in-ring competition, it does seem that he may be done. And he's cited that his knees are the reason behind this, that he can feel it a bit more now. Not too dissimilar from the Shawn Michaels retirement. I think he was starting to feel it a bit more in 2010, 2009.
All right. I was going to say which retirement, because obviously the losing the smile.
Well,
that was a knee injury.
Yeah, obviously towards the end of that second run, arguably his best run, but
I'd say it's a better run.
But yeah, I think he was saying he could feel it a bit more, and hence it led up to the retirement match with Undertaker.
Well, the first time.
Yeah. But Sabu though, the other reason I'm not fully convinced is that Sabu did say he does have someone that he would want to retire him. I can't see it happening personally.
Okay.
Not in the current landscape, but any ideas who that might have been?
I can't really think.
You've got to think main roster WWE, and they're featured quite heavily.
What, he wants to match with Roman?
Close. Brock Lesnar.
Why?
Well, he said... There's some truth to this, I think, actually, if you think about it. But Sabu says that he's always been more invested in going up against bigger guys. So he thinks that the audience prefer to see him go against the bigger guys fighting from the bottom, as opposed to, people the same sort of size as him. He thinks it makes for a more interesting match, essentially, and a more interesting story between the ropes.
Well, Brock Lesnar, since he's returned from UFC, his best matches have been with the smaller guys. Yeah,
exactly. And Sabu cites his work ethic as well. He seems to really rate Lesnar, and for all of the shit Lesnar's gotten over the years, particularly post streak beating, but he is a fantastic worker. I think it's just the way that he's booked is the way it was kind of the downfall to another Lesnar match. We've got to see him do 17 Germans and same shit.
Yeah, I've always thought Brock sells well. He's one of the best big man sellers I can think of, because Kane's a good seller, even though he does the no sell stuff. Cause
for big guys,
big guys, yeah.
And for big guys that sometimes it can look really out of place selling for a smaller guy.
Yeah, because when his match with AJ Styles at Survivor Series a few years ago, when he was selling the knee injury, even backstage. And then his match with Rey Mysterio, I think he did the same thing. Yeah.
I think Brock has been more underrated for newer audiences that maybe didn't see his initial run. They haven't really seen the full extent of what Brock Lesnar is capable of.
No.
There's been glimmers, like you say. The match with Styles and Bryan was excellent.
Yeah.
His match with Punk a few years ago was excellent.
He did have one or two good matches with Roman.
Yeah,
but
that's run out of steam now, don't you think?
The matches with Strowman weren't good. The matches with Joe wasn't spectacular. He had that good triple threat with Seth and Cena in Rumble.
Oh yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Do you think also it's to do with the Paul Heyman situation?
Interesting point. I don't know though. I wouldn't have thought so.
Even if in kayfabe at the minute we're not sure if Heyman's really with Lesnar or he's with Roman.
Yeah. Well, time will tell, but I can't see that one happening, not within WWE ropes anyway, based on their new, I think, desires and what they want necessarily, but we'll come to that obviously when we talk about the releases.
Yeah. Recently. Who would you have said really would be a perfect match?
Well, based on what I would want to see personally, I'm not too sure. I think I would never have said Lesnar.
No.
I would have never have jumped to a Lesnar, but I think it's difficult with the ECW guys because you're kind of always going to say you want it to be with one of the original ECW guys. I feel that's like the general, like majority of wrestling fans would probably say something like, "Oh, I'd want to see him go against a Dreamer or a Van Damme."
Well, Van Damme would have been my first choice, but if I was to go for, because you always want maybe a younger guy to do.
I think so, yeah, because it's the whole going out on your back thing. You put someone over. So, based on that, I mean, I don't know, you'd probably have to say...
Nick Gage.
Yeah, Nick Gage or an Atticus, someone who's on the up and up. But if he wants to go for big guys, then put him in there with a Schlag. That'd be a hell of a way to end the career, wouldn't it? But, I don't know. But Lesnar would have never been my first guess, but again, it's up to him. You've got to go out how you want to go out, haven't you, really?
Yeah, because I don't think... They would have never been around each other.
No, they wouldn't have. No.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
We'll wait and see.
3 men. 1 ball. I did it.